Hey, what's up, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of Correctional Officer Stories with Steve. Thanks again for rocking with me. I'm going to continue to say that because I'm getting nothing but love and positivity. It's super humbling, especially in a world like we're in today where there's a lot of negativity. So positivity really brings light to my eyes. It makes me feel good. So again, thank you all for rocking with me. I appreciate that. Hope you're having a great day, great week. We're going into the weekend, y'all, right? So those weekends are always good, especially if you have them off. When I was working in corrections, I used to not really have weekends off. I'd always work Saturday, Sunday. Then I got an operations spot when I promoted and got Saturday, Sunday off. I don't even think I had a part of the weekend before I was a sergeant. Anyways, let's jump right into today's topic, what today's video is going to be about. And that's going to be about dirty corrections officers. Gets my blood boiling, boy, boiling. So I'm going to give you one story of a dirty correctional officer. And that came from when I was working in the female prison. I was already a sergeant. I was working swing shift. We had a brand new female officer. Had been with us for probably, I'd say, a month. Not very long. You know, she was okay. She was doing good. Things were going good. But myself and my other sergeant, we used to work together on swings. We started watching video. And we were always watching video. We're just kind of watching video to keep an eye on the yard while we are up in the yard office. See what officers were doing, make sure they were doing their walks and their checks, make sure the yard was good, make sure inmates were doing what they were supposed to do. But count time started at 8 o'clock, so 2000 on swing shift. Inmates would have to lock down by 7:45. Everybody'd have to be in by 8 o'clock. At that time, the inmate porters that were on a turnout list, it's called a master pass. If they had a job after 8 o'clock, they could come out, clean the yard, empty the trash, wipe down the chow hall, wipe down the runs, do the windows, wipe down the control room. Well, there was only a certain amount of inmates that could do that, right? There was only a couple per yard that could be pulled out. Well, this particular officer started to pull out this one particular female. Never forget her. Used to pull her out. So I asked her one night. We were watching the video. I called her on the radio. I had her, 2421 means what's your 20 for a phone call. I call her. I'm like, hey, why is so-and-so out? She's not on the turnout list. Because our cameras were pretty clear. You could zoom right in. And I had already called the control room officer to ask, why is this inmate out? And he verified who it was, right? So she's like, she just wanted to get some extra hours. She had some disciplinary issued. She had a ticket, and she wanted to make up her hours for that disciplinary ticket because they get like extra hours that they got to do. It just depends on the ticket they get. If it's petty, they can do extra hours to knock it off, right? So I'm like, all right, cool. So I tell the other sergeant, I'm like, man, something's funny about this. Like, I don't have a good feeling. So I said, we'll watch it for a couple nights. And we happen to be on the next couple nights. Boom, next night, pulls her out again. You think you'd wait, right? You think you'd wait thinking, there. Boom, she pulls her right out. 8 o'clock count comes, 2000, 8 o'clock. 8:15, that inmate's never locked down. She pulls her out. So the officers have to go to each cell and do a head count. Look in the window. Visibly see that they're living and breathing flesh in there. Mark them in. Their IDs, the inmate IDs, have to be in the window. That inmate was walking around with this officer at this time, doing count with her, checking with her. So I'm like, what the? Are you kidding me? So I call this officer, call her up to the yard office. Ask her what's going on. She says, oh, no, nothing. She was just sweeping the runs, and she just happened to be behind me. All kinds of nonsense, right? I'm like, look, we'll just use the name Joe. Officer Joe, I'm going to tell you this one time and one time only. I know what you're doing. You've been here for about a month now. if you're compromised and you've crossed that line already, let me know and we're going to move forward with this. That way I can save you before anything bad happens, which I don't know if it has, and I'm not saying it has. But from me watching 2 nights worth of video, just 2 nights, and you telling me yesterday she was just out for hours, now she's out again, and I know that's not what time it is. I'm giving you the opportunity to come clean with me, right? He was like, no, I promise. And I said, Officer Joe, I've already given you the speech. I give it to everybody when they come in. Brand new officers. This is the line you walk. This is the line you don't. You never cross it. I give that speech. If you do, you will get caught. She's like, no, I promise I would never do that. I love this as my job. I'm going to become a cop. I'm trying out for the city of whatever right now. And she was in the process for a particular city police department. So I'm like, all right, cool. I'm like, well, I just gave her the heads up. I'm like, I'm going to be watching you. So believe that. I'm going to be watching you, so is the other sergeant. So I ended up having to write an information report on that. I had to turn that in because I had that conversation. I had to document what was going on. So about a week goes by, right? I go on the next night. She doesn't do anything. I go on my RDOs, my days off. I come back. It's like let's say a week later, and we're watching video. And now it's in the hands of the deputy warden. He's like, you need to watch it. I want this watch. So they're watching every night. She's not doing anything. Like I said, I come back from my days off. The first night, everything's good. The second night, boom, she's out. And now she has her out sweeping way in the corner where she thinks there's no sight of the camera. Well, she forgets that on the corner of the wall, there's a dome camera. So it picks up 180, right? But she thinks she's outside of the camera. They're just sitting there talking, both smoking. I don't even think this officer smoked. So I'm like, all right. So we clip the camera. We clip the video. We send it over to the lieutenant in the morning. He watches it. So they end up rewatching videos for like 3 to 4 weeks back, right? Because remember, we had just caught it the previous week. She had been pulling this inmate out every day or every other day for like the last month. And we didn't ever really pay attention. Kind of my fault. We didn't really ever pay attention to this because I didn't really think that. I just didn't pay attention. So it was kind of an oversight on my part. But like I tell everybody, you will get caught. We ended up catching her just by watching video on the yard. And that's how she got caught. So like I said, she had been messing around with this inmate for who knows how long. So we called the inmate up to interview her because we have that authority. We can interview that inmate. So we're asking this inmate, and what inmates don't realize, a lot of them don't realize that they're awarded to the state. They're not going to pick up a charge for messing with an officer. That's always on the officer, always. These inmates are awarded to the state. They're custody of the state. They're never going to be charged for something if they're sleeping around with an officer or whatever. A lot of them don't realize that, right? So we're threatening this inmate. We're like, look, you're going to tell us everything about this officer, what you've done. I want to know everything. If not, you're going to get 5 to 10 to 15 years. We're going to book you. You're getting out in like what? 6 months? Check it out. That 6 months is about to turn into 5 to 15. I'm telling you that right now. So tell me what you got. She was like, no, nothing's going on. You guys are, just calling us all kinds of names. And so I was like, look, I'm going to ask you one more time. You're going to tell me everything that's gone on with this officer, or we're going to book you for 15 years. So it's almost like a 6-9 case, right? All of a sudden, you're facing them years. You're like, you don't know what to do. You're about, man, she spilt the whole story. They had been having sex in the dry storage in the kitchen. That officer had been in her cell having sex with her, like way late, because she used to stay. All of a sudden, she's staying for overtime now, right? So she's working into graveyard all the way through the morning. So, but we couldn't never prove that. So once we had that, the inmate said all that. We had to have her write a statement. It got turned in. It went to the deputy warden. That next day, they had me come in early. We waited, myself and another sergeant, no, it was a lieutenant, waited for that officer to come in and swing shift. As soon as she parked in that parking lot and she walked through the doors to clear the scanner, we grabbed her, pulled her into the freaking to the side. We searched all her stuff. We were looking for letters, pictures, stuff you would be bringing in an inmate, cigarettes, whatever. She didn't have nothing on her, right? So we're thinking, So we pull her into the deputy warden's office, and the deputy warden's just grilling her like, look, we've got you on camera, telling her stuff. Basically, we have you on camera having sex with the inmate. We really didn't. We're just trying to get her to admit what we know she's done, right? So you could tell just by interviewing her that she was already dirty. We were waiting for the criminal investigations unit to come over and interview her as well. They just were running behind, so we just started the interview. We're drilling her. I told her, I said, listen, we know, like, you're done. Turn your stuff in. Here's your opportunity. If not, you're going to go to jail. Like, they're gonna arrest you today. So finally, she's like, she didn't admit to it, but she's like, yeah, it's been inappropriate. There was no sexual relations, but I did exchange phone numbers, and I don't know what to do. She started crying. So she handed over her cuff. She handed over everything. So we took her ID, her badge, everything from her right there. That day, she lost everything. That day, she lost everything. She can no longer become a police officer because that is a documented case, because Criminal Investigations Unit did pick it up. Just because she decided to say we had inappropriate relations and just quit right there on the spot, that didn't mean it went away. She was criminally investigated. That was in her case. That's in her file. She'll never be able to come into corrections again. She'll probably be able to come in and visit because she'll come in on a different name or whatever. But it ruined her whole career over freaking having a relationship with the freaking inmate. And for what? Because you know what that inmate did like 2 weeks later? You know what she said? She's like, what a punk bitch. Just another one under my belt. Just another mark in my belt. So remember, it don't pay to play with inmates. Because all they doing is playing you. There might be 1 in a million that end up on a relationship on the outside, but for real, it ain't going to happen. And check this out. 2 months later, me and my SSU officer were going through mail to that inmate because we were still looking, because we were probably thinking, man, she's going to hit him up another officer. What do we find? Naked, nude photos of that freaking officer that we terminated, that I've been talking about. She's sending in nude photos under an alias name. And she was just denying the hell out of it, that she wasn't doing nothing. Yeah, she admitted to it a little bit at the end, but never said yes. Just said, it was inappropriate. She can get it corrected, and then she ended up quitting. Nude photos under an alias name. So when you know, right? So I'm telling you, don't cross that freaking line. I've got another story coming from you all. Was a visitation officer, and this particular officer ended up marrying this inmate about a year ago. That's a crazy one for you too. That'll blindside you. So I'm going to save that for another video. Like I said, that officer ruined everything. She lost her benefits. She lost her retirement. She lost a good career. Because in the beginning, she was a really good officer. I could ask her to do anything. She picked up well. She ran the yard well. Her radio traffic was clean. She was a go-getter. And that inmate played her. The inmate played her. And listen, the inmate was good looking. You know what I mean? But she's awarded to the state. You got to wait for that inmate to get out. If you're going to play games like that, you got to wait. Like you are an officer of the freaking law, basically. You're not post-certified. You're not a peace officer, but you still uphold the standards of the correctional institutions and the facilities, the policies and procedures. So if you're going to do that, don't go down the path of corrections. Just write the inmates on a pen pal system, because they all have it. Just be a pen pal and hook up that way. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, I'm going to end this right here. That was an all bad situation. Having sex in that dry storage for that, and I believe that inmate I believe her all the way. But yeah, she ended up quitting. They picked up a criminal case on her. I honestly don't know what happened. She probably, who knows what they did, but I guarantee you it's documented. And she really wanted to be a police officer, and she ain't never gonna be a police officer again, because nobody's picking her up unless she moves to some crazy state and doesn't put any of this down. That may happen, but she probably went back to, who knows, working at the gas station or whatever, and lost all of her benefits. I'm not saying it's bad to work at a gas station, but that's what she wanted to do, a law enforcement career. So remember, guys, it's not worth it. Hey, thanks for rocking with me again. I'm trying to do another interview, so you may see that, you may not. I'm hoping to do that soon. So keep rocking with me. Appreciate you all, and have a great weekend. Peace.